Okay, good morning, everyone. This is another day of very exciting Workforce Wednesday. I'm Dr. Yasser Kurd, Assistant Director of the Career Services at the May Center for Experiential Learning and Community Engagement. I know that you all will be missing Clarissa today, but I'm leading today's session. Hopefully I will be as good as her. But today we have a special guest, Angel Lerma. Angel is working with the City of San Antonio, and he's a special projects manager with the Opportunity Youth. Before we jump in our amazing conversation today with Angel, I would just like to remind you some housekeeping items. So the second slide over here, I know that you're going to be joining us hopefully today, and then I already see some, the engagement with the students. Please just make sure that if you are not speaking, please mute yourself. So that is very important for the quality of the conversation. And also, if you have any questions, again, you are feel free, please, to unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can just type your question on the chat box. As always, we have an amazing YouTube channel, Tell Me Some Maze, and we're gonna be posting this recording within 24 hours on our Tell Me Some Maze channel. Just give me 1 second so I can stop sharing and we can go ahead and then start our conversation. Angel, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's start maybe with a very quick intro. Could you please tell a little bit about yourself, but also tell us about your educational and professional background as well?
Sure. So my name is Angel Lerma, and as you mentioned earlier, I do work with the City of San Antonio as a special projects manager. And I've really been with the City of San Antonio for about 6 years now, and I realize now how quickly time has flown by. Generally speaking, like I did start college right at 18, and then I did go to UTSA. So I have my bachelor's in communication with a concentration in public relations, and a minor in business from UTSA. So that was a great experience. During my college career, I did have the pleasure of joining like a fraternity at that time. So I got to meet a lot of different people and really expand my network during my time at UTSA. So I really enjoyed my college years. And again, I currently work with the City of San Antonio's Department of Human Services. Really my role with the city right now is really supporting the overall city's investment with Opportunity Youth. Opportunity Youth are essentially young people between the ages of 16 to 24 who are not currently working or not in school. I also oversee the city's Ambassador Summer Internship program. And so that program really offers paid internships for students over the summer. And it's really a great initiative that really recruits talent back to San Antonio for permanent residents of San Antonio. If, let's say, students went to school outside of the city and they want to come back for the summer, we're here to make sure that we can connect them and make to those opportunities so that they can make those valuable connections. But then we also provide internships for local talent here as well. So I'd say that the program generally is like split in half, where we generally accept about 200 students every summer, and we're here to provide summer internship opportunities from basically any major, and we place them within the city organization itself, but then also private employers and nonprofits that partner with us to provide those opportunities to students. Generally speaking, I didn't start there, right? I think when I first started my career journey, I was really invested in wanting to pursue a career as a publicist, with utilizing my public relations degree and really kind of seeing that story for myself. So I will say that it's interesting how life kind of creates different opportunities for you, and you end up in different areas that you end up becoming really passionate about. And that's kind of what happened with me. I will say that while I was in college, I was working part-time for the Majestic Theater, actually. I was working in their box office, selling tickets to events. And luckily, right as soon as I graduated, I was able to gain full-time employment with them. So I kind of started with working as a volunteer coordinator for their volunteer usher program, and then really trying to expand as an operations manager, where we would manage pretty much all the logistics for what was happening in front of house for productions and meeting with the touring shows and things like that. So it was a very fun experience, and I did that for about 5 years as well. But yeah, that's a little bit of my background there.
Awesome. That's exciting. Two key points I got, of course, like it's an amazing, the story, but you mentioned about the network. is because as we are, the career advisors, we're talking about the importance of network. And then the second, like you said, that how you, want to be a publicist, but and then you ended up, in different, the field. And then you said that finding the passion. So for our students, for instance, right now, they have, let's say, goal for themselves. Let's say that goal is becoming a publicist, right, in the future. What happened to you that you just really made sure that this particularly in the project management job and then working with the state of San Antonio was for you? And then what advice you have for students might have the similar experience you mentioned?
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, it was a moment when I started thinking about like work-life balance. I think it was just thinking about at that moment in time, it was like if I were, I guess I also envisioned, let me kind of start backwards, where I really envisioned being a publicist to be really glamorous and fun, the way you see it on TV, on the TV screen, right? And I'm not saying that it isn't, because it was super entertaining and exciting. But it really does require a lot of hard, like long hours at night and on the weekends. And once I started becoming like really being engaged in that role, I was realizing that I was compromising a lot of my own personal goals to kind of start a family and what would that really look like for me if I'm working nights and weekends. And so I kind of made a conscious effort to kind of adjust my scheduling to be more daytime. And I'm not saying that you can't be a publicist without working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of hours. But for me, it was then really kind of figuring the balance and reprioritizing what my future looked like. And I really started to learn that in that specific role in the work I was doing, I was leaning towards really that whole community engagement piece and really building up public service. And I started getting really passionate about the volunteer usher program that the theater had. At that time, they had about 900 volunteer ushers, and I was really like concentrated on wanting to build up that program and enhance trainings and really connect with the community through that avenue. And so we were successful with that. And we were able to build that up. And right around the time that I was kind of in this space of reevaluating kind of like my next career move, the city was recruiting a volunteer coordinator to come in and build new policies and procedures for a volunteer program. And so the timing was right. And this experience of managing such a large program really lent itself to kind of translate my experience over to local government. And I will say that that was my foot in the door with the city of San Antonio. It was really kind of taking what I've known and the skills that I've built, and it aligned with the passion that I had at that time. And it was really just the perfect time for me to make a career change and a move that really met kind of my personal goals. But I will say then advice kind of for young people will be to really kind of, it's really about really like taking your work experience and being able to translate that to any environment. Because I will say that I don't think I guess my perception of working for local government or working for the city was a little intimidating. I always thought that everyone's really professional and really kind of conservative. And I feel like I'm very like open and outgoing. And once I was there, I realized that my perception was off. And it's just interesting to show how your work experience can really translate itself to like a variety of different sectors. And so it's really, I think, taking those skills and being able to articulate what you're able to do and accomplish and offer other organizations overall. Did I get all of your question?
Yeah. I know that I asked my question with a lot of, the ABCs underneath. You covered everything, Angel. I loved it. And like you said, it's very important sometimes maybe waiting for the right time in your story that worked like really well. And then I really appreciate how you talk about that work-life balance and the importance of it. Whenever we have, the presentations and then one-on-one advising with our students, when we're talking about really their career planning and then life design, we also share exactly the same the mindset with them. Hey, it's important for you to, of course, go for your passion, but also sometimes you need to think about their work-life balance and occupational wellness. Those are very important for your own wellness and well-being as well. So you really, explain that well. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Angel, my next question is about the necessary skills, the key skills in this industry. So what are some of the key skills that are needed in your role? And then how have you really developed them over the time over there at the City of San Antonio?
Yeah, I think key skills, I'm going to have to start with really strong writing skills. I will say that I've always been a creative writer. It's always been a hobby of mine, and I will say that even in college, I thought I was writing really well, and my grades quickly showed me that I had room to grow. But I will say, like on a professional level, it's been really just always being open to criticism and really just keeping an open mind and learning from others, from mentors and peers. Because I will say, like day one that I started, it was you're going to be writing a policies and procedures guidebook, and it has to translate to the language and tone that the local government agency was using at that time. And so it's a different skill set to kind of write a policy document when you're in a creative writing document. And so I think it was just kind of being open-minded and really adapting to the skills that you do have and being confident in the abilities you do have, and then being open to grow in order to provide the product that is expected of you. And so that's really been an area that I've grown a lot in the past couple of years. Overall, I do think that there's this need for attention to detail, right? I think and that comes from trial and error. I think it's really just making conscious efforts that you're reading all the instructions and using context clues to make strategic decisions, and then really being comfortable with asking questions for clarification when you feel like you do need guidance. And that is also something that I think I've really, really grown in strongly, is really that attention to detail piece. The area that I probably struggle the most in is time management, but that's definitely a skill that has served me well overall. I always feel like I'm wanting to take on additional projects and challenge myself to do more, but it's really being real with yourself to understand like what you can accomplish and how to organize your day and really prioritize things. So just kind of honing in those skills will help. I feel like time management is kind of the adult study skill, right? I feel like when your first couple of years in college, you kind of get the swing of things when you learn what your study skills are. And then by the later years in your college career, you're like, I got this down. I already know how I work. And in the professional setting, it's very similar to your time management skills overall. And for project management, for me, has really been the ability to really stay organized is crucial, and really being able to learn how to set deadlines and how to clearly articulate what is needed as an end result, like deliverables. You can really articulate what you need back from the team. And for me personally, I think it's really also making sure that I feel really comfortable delegating things out, and also coaching your team to be better and be stronger. I am very transparent with my team that I will share pretty much any piece of information that I know or anything that has helped me be successful with them, because it's all about building up your team and sharing out. Because from there, you're just building up a stronger team. You're building up that professional trust. And I wouldn't be anywhere else if I couldn't have a stronger team around me. So the more I can share information, the stronger I think the team will be overall in trying to own every piece of the project.
Awesome. Those are all great skills. I'm gonna be asking the follow-up question regarding the time management, is because I believe that our students in particular, like really like you mentioned, the struggling with time management in particular are freshmen. They just they're barely adapting to college, but with the COVID, the hit, they are not they even here physically. Most of them, they're taking online classes. So what was like some of the tools you use regarding maybe time management that help you better? And then you advise our students maybe just to review them and then start implementing in their academic life. Any tools, the programs, the software you can suggest them to use?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that I have this super kind of tech side of me that I'm a Google fanboy, let me say that. I just love all things Google. So like I'm really into using like Google calendars and technology to really assess and like really help me stay organized. So for me, it's really setting also that discipline, right? Kind of that self-discipline of starting off your week and saying, let me look at my week, let me put things on a calendar, let me set reminders so that I can actually get to certain locations on time, like really being strategic on building in time to travel and like study or prep work or prep time. So I'm really big on building in those times into my calendar. Recently, I realized that I work really well in collaborations with our team. So I've started building in work group time. so that we can all set times to say, okay, I know we're going to commit to 2 hours, but we're going to expect to finish this product at the end of these 2 hours instead of really assigning certain tasks out. We've been extremely successful recently with kind of carving out some time to really collaborate and kind of set a goal to have a finished product. It's a little ambitious, but it's been the one way that I think we've been able to get the most results out of it. So carving out those intentional work group times has been really helpful. And then I think just kind of knowing yourself and knowing when you need to take like a break, or if you need to take some of that self-care, I think is important to build into your day. But for me, it's really been calendars and setting, managing your time, looking at your week, having intentional times of like when you're starting your day and when you're ending your day, and then even thinking about your personal life and building that out, your personal life and building out that schedule a little bit to know that you're dedicating some time to have fun and visit with friends. And I do think that sometimes the lines get blurred with the amount of work you have to do when you work late and things like that. But it's really important to kind of visualize your week. So every week I really do set out time to build out my schedule. And that has really changed a lot.
Awesome. Really great advices. My next question is about your favorite project. So what has been so far your, the project you ever, maybe lead or you involved in, not necessarily maybe you led, but also what were some, the key points that help you to get that desired end results, which today, you highlighted end results often to have that successful, the projects.
Yeah, there's so much. I feel like everything I look at, I always feel like there's an opportunity to improve something about the process or the way we're delivering a product. And so I think generally that has been my secret sauce, to say the least, is that I always see an opportunity for improvement and then instantly start thinking of ways that we can implement some process to kind of streamline or improve that. So every year with our internship programs, we do something a little different to try to improve, or overall, there's just that nature in our team when we're doing something like that. But if I were to pick my favorite project, I think it would be really when we started building out the Youth Re-Engagement Center for the city. So about February last year, we essentially opened the doors to the Next Level Youth Opportunity Center. And so that's the center that is providing services to the opportunity youth. I will say that happened very quickly. Around the summertime prior to that, is 2018, I want to say, there was conversations with municipal court judges, city manager, Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, and a lot of other key players where we started learning about opportunity youth in our city. And at that moment in time, we had learned that there was about 33,000 young people who were not working and not in school. And essentially, we didn't have a lot of investments in this demographic of people. Like a lot of our funding was really related to after school programming or for participants or students that were enrolled in school. So there was this need to really address kind of the challenge at hand. So my supervisor, it really spearheaded that initiative, but I was working directly with her and really implementing a lot of the change and process through that. So she really served, I think through those 6 months, we really bonded and she served as a great mentor. And so I learned a lot from her during that process, but I'd say that it was literally combining like thought leaders and people and local government, like city council, city managers, and leadership overall to present the challenge. So of course, you're going to have to do some research to justify the need, presenting your case, right, to say this is what we need to do to basically address this challenge. And then it's really getting them all to the room to really agree and do your homework so that you can get it approved and passed by city council. So that was step one for us to get done. And once you kind of get approval for funding and justifications, then really that's when the work happens, right? And so I think that happened October 1, where we got the green light to say, you have funding, now open the doors to this center. And we tried to move quickly. So I'd say from like October to February, we really really came together to really make sure that we're building policies and procedures, hiring staff, and really making sure that we had programming to start providing services to people. And the service we essentially provide our life coaching skills, like mental health support, life coaching goals, and also career and education advisors to kind of help them identify career pathways or education pathways, and then making sure that they have supports along the way to make sure they reach those goals. We did not do that alone. We did that in partnership with communities and schools and Goodwill, who are our current providers for some of those services. But I will say that then it becomes a collaboration, and getting everyone in the room to kind of make sure we're all on the same page was also a huge learning experience, because, it's just there's different agencies with different backgrounds, and it's just making sure that we were all on the same page to make sure we're providing services to this group of people. So that, to me, that project alone really taught me so much about, again, time management was crucial, but then also like networking and relationship building, because you are spending so much time with people, and you're having to learn how to compromise and make strategic decisions that will essentially impact the lives of our community. So it was a great learning experience overall to be a part of that project.
Awesome. I mean, it's a really great opportunity even for me to learn about this center. And then I am, all about mentoring. And I know the communities in schools, how much like really they're doing, in San Antonio for, the high school students, even middle school students. So it's amazing, like you partnering with them regarding, the life coaching, mentoring, advising. So that's great. Yeah. Thank you for all, you do for, the youth in San Antonio. That's amazing. So far, you've been, talking about the challenge, and obviously, Angel, you like challenging yourself, right? And then it's the learning opportunity. You mentioned that as well. So far, what was that, the greatest challenge, or again, the learning opportunity you ever experienced? And tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think I will say a little bit of one of the challenges that I personally had was actually when I had that career. I wanted to go back to a little bit of that work-life balance. I will say that I think that was a moment in time when I was then trying to decide, am I going to stay in this fun environment that's essentially providing entertainment to community members, or am I going to make this career jump? And so to me, I think it was that was probably one of the more challenging times, was really the transition between kind of work culture from working in the entertainment industry and being a really, really honestly relaxed environment to kind of then going to kind of this really structured environment where there's really a lot of policies and procedures and different things that you need to make sure that you're abiding by. So I will say that I think that was probably one of my own personal challenges that I really, really grew from. I like I mentioned before, I had these preconceived notions of what it would be like to work for the city, and I'm so happy here. Like, I really enjoy working for the city. I love the work that we're doing, and I love how it provides opportunities for so many people with so many different backgrounds. And I think it was just that level of adjustment of just, learning the work culture, learning kind of the expectations. Like, that part took a little bit more out of me to just kind of understand that internal learning curve that I think we don't always talk about too much, that it's okay that you're not going to know all the answers when you start a new job, especially in professional careers. You generally have to rely on your experience to make strategic judgments and decisions. So I'd say, like, even for young people to know, like, you're not going to walk in the door knowing everything, and you're going to have to rely on your personal experience in those relationships to really advocate for yourself and offer new opportunities or direction to the team. So I think that's something that I learned and grew from, was really like kind of being a little intimidated of the environment, to then really learning a lot about myself and saying, I actually have the experience. I am the content expert in this area when it comes to volunteer services, and I can build these policies and procedures. So I think it was just that moment of transition where I grew a lot, where it was challenging, but then also kind of relying on what I know about myself to really kind of advance in my career and then continue building on those blocks. So there's that piece. I will say too, like, navigating through local government was interesting, right? Just kind of learning that relationship building piece with like all of our partners was great. And you really grow from that. Like, and now I feel like I'm really strong in our relationship building abilities, and I just love networking and love making connections and collaborating with everyone to really kind of try to figure out a solution to our community's needs. So yeah, I hope that kind of offers you some insight there.
Yes, definitely. So this networking piece and the relationship building just brought me some memories from a few weeks ago. We were doing the focus groups. So some of the students, they identified themselves as introverts. So the shy. And then regarding the networking and building relationships, they are like, yes, we know that there are opportunities out there on campus, out of campus, San Antonio, but again, we are shy. We are afraid of, the going and then having that moment. Any specific advice for, the students, again, have that fear?
That is so funny that you say that. I think what a lot of people may not know is that I have the most anxiety when it comes to public speaking or presenting in front of large groups of people. And I also consider myself a social introvert, if that makes any sense. Like I really enjoy talking to people and building those networks, but I'm always have this sense of being intimidated a little bit or being a little shy and how to spark up a conversation. But I think what I've learned over the years really has been that you'd be surprised that other adults or other peers or other people are really open-minded and really welcoming at the end of the day. I've never been in an experience where I've approached someone and introduced myself and said, hi, like my name's Angel, I work for this organization and I'd love to learn more about what you're doing or how we can collaborate. And I never once have been turned away. I've never once, had a negative experience. I think it's really just moving past that initial kind of mind block that you might have, or that shyness or that nervousness. But really know that other people are generally wanting to collaborate and work with you as well. They're also wanting to expand their networks, and you add value to that relationship as well. So I think it's just making sure that once you kind of do it, I'd say a handful of times, you'll feel more confident. Each time gets better and it's a little bit easier, and it works out. So really, it's just challenging yourself to go into the room and make those connections. Another tip that I think has helped me, I think I've learned from our career advisors, was actually through one of some of these networking events that we've done, where they say, set a goal for yourself, right? When you walk into the room, say that you're going to meet 3 new people that you haven't met, and you shouldn't leave that event until you've met 3 new people. And so I kind of do that now with that intention of meeting a variety of people that I can network with. I kind of set that goal in my head, and then just it kind of sets the expectation, and we're able to make progress from there and grow from that experience.
I love that. So our students needed to hear that from you, is because we're always repeating, but it's very important for them to hear from you. So that's amazing. So I have a few more questions, but regarding the project management, really it's like more the personal as well. But I keep hearing from the students, like this project management, the field area, it's getting the bigger and bigger, the big corporations and companies, organizations hiring people for the as project managers, but even in higher education, pretty much it's everywhere. So the question is regarding certifications, or certifications versus the experience versus majors. Like I know that you said you studied business as well, but to become a project manager, the people have to have that business, for instance, MBA or business management in their education background, or they have to go ahead and then get a certification, I believe PMP, professional project management, right? Or just the experience will be enough for them to get the, the position. What's your insight about that?
I think it really just depends on the industry that you're wanting to get into. That's going to require a little bit of homework and conversations with the career advisors, right, to kind of talk about what your goals are and what it is that you want to accomplish or where you want to end up. Because I do think that when you have the certification, it definitely helps with some of the business and more business-led industries and private sectors for sure. In the world that I'm in, I'm more like in public government, local government and public service. So we don't necessarily need a certification, and it really is about your experience and the skills that you're able to bring to the table. Because the skill can translate so widely in our organization, where we have project managers in IT, we have project managers in social service, public works. It's just that the skill can translate almost across the board in almost any category. It's really about that skill set of being organized and learning how to set goals and timelines and managing a team. So I think a business background definitely helps when you have those kinds of career goals. If I were to probably do this all over and say, I want to be a project manager, I'd probably consider majoring in business. But I do think that, again, it's really about how you use your work experience and then translate those skills to the role that you're in. Because I will, and because that's probably the best advice. I'd say, like, if somebody knew they wanted to be a project manager, again, the business piece, because I will say probably the area I had to grow in the most that I didn't have as much experience was the budget management piece and forecasting and making predictions on budgets. Because again, I was more on the, I'd want to say, like, communications is a lot more writing and presentations and network building and relationship building. And those skills are definitely helpful in the work that we're doing. But I didn't necessarily have as much background on the fiscal side of things and the financial piece that I would have liked. And I think that took a lot of, it didn't take a wide variety of adjustment. It was just a conscious effort to learn that I needed to build up my skill in those areas. And then once I did, I've been able to make progress overall.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that clarification. Is because, again, we share with our students, not necessarily they need certification all the time, but like you said, they're having the right skill set. And of course, like they're having the experience somehow to show that, they're going to be able to do this project management, the role well. So, but again, they need to hear from you. So thanks so much for that. My next question about COVID, I know, we're still waiting to, get rid of like really these, the bad times. But COVID also, they help, I believe, individuals to refine their, the purpose, the goal, redesign their, again, the lives, and then really taught us some unusual, maybe the connections. So what have you done individually to adjust, these, the hard times and, the difficult, the times, but also as your team, how you do that as team as well in the city of San Antonio collectively? What do you have done to adjust it individually and as a team?
Yeah, I think individually kind of starting, I think it was really the reality was that we were then started creating virtual work expectations where we could continue to work from home and provide service to our community on a virtual basis. And navigating through that was challenging. I will say, personally for me, I started a new position in March where we're managing a project, and it was right around the time that we started working remotely and we're developing work from home plans. And so very quickly, you just had to adapt to the situation where I didn't have the full context of working with that team full time, but then knowing still the expectation of what we had to accomplish. So then it was a very interesting time to really balance both of kind of this relationship building and quickly kind of providing work instructions and expectations of working from home when you were kind of new to this project. So that was an interesting time for me. But I will say that I think it's all about really, like, on a personal level, I think just figuring out, like, being kind of in tune to yourself and figuring out how you can be productive working from home. For me, it's been, I realized that I needed to create kind of a space within my home, like an office that I would not like. So I needed a separation from like the living room or the bedroom or the kitchen, where I had an actual space that I could carve out in my home to kind of concentrate and really kind of feel like even though I'm walking to a different room, I felt like, okay, this is when I put my thinking cap on. This is when I dedicate my time to work. And then when I leave this room, then I close the door on work for that day. Again, kind of like that work-life balance piece that I think I personally had to kind of figure out there. Overall, as an organization, I think that we really had to sit and evaluate what were those services that our community needed, like essential services where we couldn't stop service. And I'd say for the most part, a lot of our social services have continued virtually since COVID started. The expectation has been that, we want to make sure that we're serving our community members full time without interruption of our service models. And I'd say like some things that you provide in person couldn't be prevented. Like with some of our, as an agency, it's a variety, right? Where some like centers had to close or some parks, facilities had to close. But even though those locations were physically closed, then the work adapted where then parks started providing meals and after school meals to participants, or we started kind of realigning our services to social service to make sure that we were serving our most vulnerable population. And so even though our normal day-to-day may have shifted, agencies that normally had to kind of concentrate in those areas kind of readjusted to the social service piece. to continue to provide those services. For us personally, I think I work in the Department of Human Services, so our work didn't change. It just increased a little bit because we had a greater need. And so it was just being flexible and being able to communicate with the team what the expectations were. And I think that was really what it is. I think there's for us, it's been about like the most valuable thing has been transparency, and even saying like, this is the goal this week. We might have to tweak it again next week, and as a team, we're going to have to adjust and make adjustments overall. And I think the team has been really receptive and willing to adapt and make adjustments as needed. And now some of us have resumed working at the office, and now we're making plans to return as well. So it's really just been being flexible and understanding that sometimes things happen beyond your control, and it's really just a matter of sharing out and communicating what the plan is and making sure that the team is informed and feels supported overall.
Awesome. So far, whoever we had this, conversation, either with Workforce Wednesday or outside of these with, the other events, really like yourself, every single person, they highlighted the importance of flexibility and then definitely adjustment to this time, like being transparent and then informing the team. And also like adaptability, like you really highlighted the same, the key points. So it's not just in your, the role and the organization, but it's any industries, including us as well. These three are the keys. The same thing with our students. We always tell them when they have, the interviews, the upcoming or any, the conversation, I believe that they have to highlight how really they adjusted this process and how they're going to be using their skills based on flexibility and adaptability in the future in any work environment. So that was really great tips. So the next question, Angel, about you advising your college you. So what will be that a piece of advice you will offer to undergraduate you?
Yeah, I think I've always been really ambitious and goal oriented. So I think if I were to kind of give myself some advice, it'd be more about not to put so much pressure to know what direction, like not so much pressure on what your major is, right? And sticking to that. I think knowing now that, and I share this with a lot of the youth that we work with, but I think it's just really a matter of understanding to myself. I think I probably would have advised myself to be more flexible with my career exploration period. I'd say like I probably should have taken more advantage of those first 2 years in undergrad where I should have probably done more internships or I should have applied for different programs to really take advantage of the career exploration piece, because then I could realign or adjust my major if I needed to. And it's really never too late, but I think that it's really valuable during those beginning years to find internship opportunities. And I understand the difficult to find and the difficult to come by, but I think that was, back then I felt a little intimidated and thinking there's not enough opportunity, I don't have enough experience, I don't know how to do that when I would read job descriptions. And it's really now knowing that, man, I should have applied anyway because they would have helped me. Like I think now I realize that there's so many adults on your side and a lot of adults really wanting to advocate and support you. And I should have just applied and put it out there. I shouldn't have just let a job description intimidate me from applying to something. So I think there's that piece of it that I would have kind of told myself. I also think like on a personal level, I think I do want to share and I hope it resonates with some students that, like I think that, and this kind of goes out to our first generation college students at the end of the day, like I feel really passionate and I feel like I really feel really connected to our opportunity youth demographic because I did lose my parents very young at the age of 13, and I really grew up with my grandparents who only spoke Spanish. And so my entire career, like college career piece, I really explored on my own. And so I think now looking back, I really should have relied on our career advisors a little bit more and like some of those services like Cafe College that exist to kind of really help guide and offer support on the opportunities that were available. Because I think back then I also felt like I don't have the best grades to apply for a scholarship, or I'm lacking this. There was a little bit of self-confidence that was missing. When I look back now, I realize all the resources that we have available for young people to be successful. And I'm like, I should have just applied. Like, what was I thinking? I should have applied for those scholarships, or I should have asked for those or applied for those internship opportunities. And so I think that, and at the end of the day, like there's this piece of like self-advocacy that I think we have to tune into, that I think if I were to do this again, I think I should have emailed kind of like the manager of that organization and asked if there was opportunities. I should have kind of not been intimidated by that, because I think that, again, I think as a community, we're so invested in wanting to provide opportunities to young people that you shouldn't let any of those barriers stop you from pursuing your goals. So I think that's kind of the lessons learned, if I had to do it all over, was to kind of do that career exploration piece a little bit more, and then apply for more scholarships and rely on our career advisors and other adults that would be advocates for you and giving into it. And it's not a negative stigma to ask for help, and really just making sure that you tap into those resources.
I really appreciate, you share these great, advice and tips for our students. Like you said, the career exploration, without really, gaining that experience, like doing internships, externships, the job shadowing, whatever that looks like. We call experiential learning right now, is a fancy name, right? You wouldn't really know much about the nature of the work, how that looks like. So you really nailed that really good. Regarding the first generation, I took some notes over here when you're saying that. Is because I believe even the literature says that, but of course this is your experience. But most of the first generation students, if it is not all, they're always talking about not knowing available resources. You mentioned about it. I believe that for them, visiting with the May Center, having conversation with faculty, like you said, sending an email and then seeking for help. Just send that email and ask questions. What could be happening? They might say that, oh, we are sorry, but we don't have any the opportunities for you at the moment, but just ask for it. And the mentoring, which you mentioned several times, I believe that for first generation students as well, that mentoring piece is really vital to get that social support. And also student organizations, just involving the students organizations, at least like you feel belong. So really, really appreciate all these key points, but also I just want to remind our students about these three components and then I believe the most important, available resources and seeking for help. Awesome. So before we jump in our students' questions, if they have any for you, but my last the question is, what are some resources for students or, the people out there will be watching these, the recording that want to deep dive into learning more about this field, your field? What are some resources you can share with them?
Yeah. So I will say kind of tapping, it kind of goes into, like, if you're wanting to learn more about project management and working with the city and local government, like there's I think like the city's like main HR page will always have opportunities of what we're looking for, because there's opportunities for internships in the spring and the fall that may not be paid. The summer ones are definitely paid. So I think those internships opportunities are available if someone's looking for a position in local government for sure. I'd say even reaching out to your local representative, I will say, like, those are great resources for young people if they want to pursue a career in local government. Council members, I think, are great, and they will always generally be available to learn more from youth voice. I would love to kind of also share out, like, if we're talking about mentorship and resources and direct access to people, like offering myself as a resource to everyone would. I'm more than happy to answer questions and be available to navigate through anything if someone's interested in pursuing a career and anything that I've done in my past. I'd be happy to share whatever I know with the young people. But I think I kind of redirect everyone probably to applying for internships at the end of the day, like really looking at the value in that and really committing to carve out some time in internships, whether they're paid or unpaid. The experience is invaluable. The city offers the Ambassador Summer Internship Program that are paid over the summer, and that's a great resource for participants. For young people and students. If their participants are a little bit younger, right? Like if they have brothers and sisters that are in high school, I'd say like SA Works offers summer internships too. So it's really just kind of connecting and learning about all those different opportunities. I wish we had one central webpage that we can kind of redirect everyone to kind of highlight some of that. But I will say that I think like your team and the career advisors really are such a wealth of knowledge that really to tap into. The career advisors for STEM advice overall was going to be really beneficial. But again, if anyone is interested in internship programs, I'd redirect everyone to really kind of challenge themselves to explore taking part in one of those.
Awesome. Really great advices. Thank you, Angel. So we have several students right now in this session. But do you have any questions for Angel? Again, either you can unmute yourself and then you can ask directly to Angel, or you can type your question on the chat box. But before we wrap it up, we want to make sure that, again, Angel, answers your questions. Don't be shy.
Okay, I think something popped up in the chat. It looks like they're asking, what is the next goal for me professionally?
Mm-hmm.
I will say it's an interesting one. I'm really looking at staying with the city and growing professionally with the city of San Antonio. And so that for me, position-wise, it really leads to more a higher administrative role, like with the organization. I will say that internally, I have set a goal. I don't know that age is really a factor in goals, but for me personally, I said by the time I'm currently 32, but I was like, by the time I'm 35, my goal is to be in an administrative role. And so I'm like 2 years away, and I really do feel like my career is leading in that direction. And I think that I've looked at positions that I would need to accept or gain in order to build into that direction. So to be like an administrator, an assistant director, a director, like those are the kind of positions that I think are next for me, and that's really what I'm striving for with our agency, and really communicating it out. So for me, my next real profession is really to be an administrator, probably within this realm of human services. And I feel like I'm making that true by saying it out loud and sharing it with my administrative team and other leadership. I'm always kind of putting it out there and now working towards goals on how I can prove my value and say, this is my goal. What can I do to help get there? And if you put it out in the universe, you'd be surprised like how hopefully it'll come my way.
Awesome. Thank you, Angel. Last week, we had another panel, and then we were talking about it. One of the speakers, she was talking about how she created a job description based on her skills and qualifications and accomplishments. And then she said, hey, I have a baby now, and then I'm struggling a little bit, and here is what I accomplished so far. How about if you just create this role for me and then I get it? This has happened. Her superior said that, okay, so they created a role, they didn't even have it, and then they hired her for their role she created for herself.
No, that's really great advice. I think that I've kind of dabbled into that strategy where again, like I mentioned, I kind of I'm in this current role, and I started evaluating instantly, how can we improve this position? If it wasn't me accepting this position, how could it be better? And I just have this tendency to do that with almost anything I encounter. So I instantly was like, I think my position should be this, and then I should have this responsibility and this level of responsibility. And I've already proven that I can do these other things. So we really already had the conversation on how my role can expand. And so I took a very similar approach. And I think that's really how you can advocate and really look towards moving into positions, is really, what is the need? Where are the gaps? And are you able to fill that role and then present that to your leadership? Because essentially you do the work for them, right? You're telling them, these are the gaps, this is the analysis, this is the data, and I'm your person to that truth. So it's
and then always I remember this, I will say, statement: if you don't really advocate for yourself, who will do it for you? You have to advocate for yourself. So I believe that even these, the example is like a really great, the way to better articulate what really that means. So earlier you mentioned again, like, the seeking for help, sending that email, do something for yourself, is because no one really does anything for you if you don't tell them you need help, you need assistance, or like you're looking for jobs. So that is really great advice. Let me check it one more time if we have any questions. But again, we have right now, the several students in the session. Do you have any questions for Angel? Again, I want to make sure that before we wrap it up, we have all the answers for your questions. Okay. So it seems like we don't have any other questions, but Angel, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it again for all that wisdom and then great, the expertise and then experience you share with our students. Hopefully it's gonna be very beneficial for them. Of course, we're gonna be sharing on YouTube, so thousands and thousands, the Jaguars will be able to reach out this recording, so they're gonna learn from you and your the experience, your success story. Before we wrap it up,
thank you so much.
of course, before we wrap it up, I'm gonna be sharing the screen one more time, reminding a few things, and we're gonna be so hopefully concluding today's session. Okay, so it's just a reminder, and Clarissa also put these on the chat box, but just again, to mark your attendance, please go to Jaxing, and then you can see there. So just again, use the link or QR code to to prove that you attended. So Workforce Wednesday, the next Wednesday, October 28th, we're gonna have the guest speaker, Vinka Clash, PhD, the staff scientist with the Texas Biomedical Research Institute. So we are excited about next Wednesday as well. So hopefully it's gonna be really another the eye-opening moment for you, our students. And again, we try to use social media efficiently, effectively. You can see that YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, we are almost, all of the famous social media channels. You can just follow us there at Tamusa Mace. Again, this recording will be available on YouTube within 24 hours. So please stay tuned. Okay, so thank you so much, Angel. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.